A 5-millisecond spike slipped through Park's observatory processing and was quietly labeled as interference. And that decision erased something real from astronomy for years. On a flat archival display, a clean, repetitive radio line runs across the screen like a calm heartbeat. Then a razor-thin vertical strike punches through it and disappears just as fast. That single mark should have changed everything. Instead, it was discarded. The consequence was simple and brutal. A real cosmic event was treated as noise, and no one knew what was being lost. Inside the park's data system, the record looked healthy. Stable sky background, predictable fluctuations, routine cleanup filters doing their job. Engineers trusted those filters because they had to. Radio astronomy is flooded with human-made interference. Aircraft pulses, satellite reflections, electrical noise. So anything sharp, anything brief, anything unusual gets flagged and removed without hesitation. The visual anchor of that system was always the same. A smooth line, a controlled sky. Nothing sudden enough to matter. But that is where the first failure hides. The spike from the year 2001 was real data, buried inside what looked like contamination. When Duncan Lorimer and his team revisited archival observations in 2006, they were not searching for explosions. They were testing old survey methods, routine verification work, the kind of project designed to confirm everything is stable. Instead, the visual anchor returns. That same flat line, that same thin vertical rupture. Except now it is isolated, clean, impossible to ignore. And yet the first interpretation still wins. Interference. A glitch. A terrestrial pulse. The system stays confident because confidence is built into the pipeline itself. Anything that behaves like a spike gets rejected before it becomes a question. The consequence is invisible at first. Not that something was found, but that something was consistently prevented from being seen. Then Lorimer's reprocessing begins to break that comfort. Movement by movement, the same data refuses to behave like background noise. The spike is not wide, not repeated, not patterned like known interference. It sits alone at 5 milliseconds. The visual anchor appears again, now enlarged on a recalibrated plot. A single vertical strike cutting through silence. And this time, the pressure shifts. Because if this is real, it does not belong to Earth. But that idea cannot stabilize easily. The system fights back with explanation. Instrument error, timing corruption, local interference masked as cosmic signal. The data is rechecked against telescope logs, weather conditions, instrument calibration states. Everything looks normal. That is the trap. Nothing is wrong with the system. Everything is wrong with the interpretation. The false normality holds steady because the pipeline was never designed to preserve 1-millisecond anomalies. It was designed to erase them. Then comes the escalation. The signal is tested against every known failure mode. None fit cleanly. Not satellite sweeps, not pulsar noise, not terrestrial bursts. The spike remains singular, unrepeatable, too sharp for natural background processes that span seconds or minutes. The visual anchor returns again. Now compared against hundreds of hours of clean sky. It is the only vertical break in an ocean of stability. And that contrast becomes the pressure point, because a single anomaly is easy to dismiss, but a single anomaly that survives every filter is not. At this stage, the midpoint shift arrives without warning. The question is no longer what caused the spike, it is what else has been removed like it. The archival system was not just recording the sky, it was actively deciding what the sky was allowed to be. And every decision to remove noise may have also removed reality. Reanalysis expands the scope. Similar datasets are reviewed. Different observation runs, different nights, different sky regions. The same pattern appears everywhere. Clean lines, smoothed outputs, aggressive filtering. The visual anchor becomes more than a single spike. It becomes a missing category of events. If one burst survived, others may have been erased in real time without ever being noticed. The pressure turns technical. Signal classification thresholds are examined. The system was tuned to reject fast transient noise. Anything shorter than a few milliseconds was statistically insignificant in older models. That assumption now becomes the core failure. Because the Lorimer burst sits exactly inside that ignored window, 5 milliseconds, a duration too short to be trusted, and yet too structured to be random. And that is where the reinterpretation locks in. The spike is not an anomaly in the universe, it is an anomaly in the detection system. The visual anchor returns again, now reframed, same image, same vertical strike, but no longer noise. It is evidence of blindness. As more archival work continues, the consequence expands beyond one event. If one burst was misclassified, then entire populations of fast radio transients may have been systematically removed before recognition. The sky did not change. The recording process did. The stability seen in decades of data was partly an artifact of filtering decisions that erased anything too brief to fit expectations. The final movement is not discovery. It is exposure. The system that was trusted to reveal cosmic activity was also suppressing it. The clean line across every archive is no longer a sign of calm. It is a sign of deletion. The visual anchor appears one last time, a perfect, flat record. Then the single spike overlaid on top of it. The contrast is no longer just observational, it is historical. One version shows the universe as it was recorded. The other shows what was removed to make it look that way. The consequence lands fully here. Astronomy did not miss a signal. It trained itself not to see it. And once that is understood, every archived observation becomes uncertain. Not because the sky changed, because the filter did. A single spike changed everything by surviving deletion. What else never survived the cut?